What's up, guys? I'm shooting an intro inside the car because it's cold outside. I'm wearing a scarf because I like little boys or something. I don't know. Anyway, today we're going to be installing a shifter bushing on an 04 RX8. This will be the same for any year RX8 or any like V160 transmission for that matter. So it's the same one as like an S15 Silvia or a Miata, same year, like the shitty ugly one. I should probably be more specific. Like 04, I don't know, the one after the pop-ups, the real ugly one, the real bad one. I'm gonna get shit for that, but it doesn't matter. Stainless steel from Atkins rotary. They sell aluminum ones. This is great for the stock shifter, but it does not work with any aftermarket ones. So R-Magic or the Axial Flow short shifter. I know there's a few more for the RX8 specifically. This doesn't work with them. So don't try to install solid shifter bushing from Atkins with a short shifter. I'm sticking with the stock shifter because I really like it. The V160 shifts really nice. Like any car review guy that gets in them, they're always like, wow, this car shifts like so good. And I don't know, it's kind of like it's like a 90s-esque mechanical car, but the shifting feel is definitely not like the mush of a 90s vehicle. And most examples are relatively low miles. Even now, most RX8s are pretty low in miles because their engines constantly blow up after you get into the high mileage, and it's cheaper to buy a new one than to rebuild it. So we're going to be installing this with a stock shifter. Short shifter is really helpful if you have like a Fox body or like a lot of domestic cars that don't shift the greatest, real notchy, real sloppy. And a lot of older cars, like they really benefit. Front wheel drive cars or transverse mounted vehicles. So like a 3000 GT, for example, you've got, it is all wheel drive, but it's a transverse mounted engine. It is, or like Evos or a lot of Mitsubishi cars, Galants, like they benefit from a short shifter just because it gives that tighter shifting feel. The RX8 one, however, has a pretty reasonable throw. It's not too long, but I like a decent sized shift. When it's like a super short shift, it's great if you get used to it, but the only times I've missed a shift has been with like a short shifter car. They definitely cause shifting confusion. Not really issues, but confusion. You're going like 1, 2, 2 to 3. You can jump back into first into a money. You can jump over to 5. I don't like short shifters or insanely short shifters. Sometimes they're a great upgrade from most cars, I would say. RX8 is not one of them. I really do like the stock shifter. So let's replace this because we've got a little bit of slack. So you see that wiggle? This should be able to eliminate that. That's in neutral, not bouncing over or over right when the spring starts to engage. And then within gears, we have a little bit of slack, or slosh, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, let's get to it. I'm doing this from the passenger side for no reason other than that door was locked, and so I unlocked it from this side. Anyway, I'm not going to be going through how to remove like the trim or the e-brake because don't have the stock e-brake paraphernalia or the stereo part because race car, not really, but you can imagine, right? So basically, on a stock car, I think you'd pop off this little trim here with the cigarette lighter and ashtray. Mine, really, you just pop the shifter boot up and over, and it should be able to pop up right there. Look at that. Remove the shift knob, of course. So that's a thing. This is a kind of sick shifter. It's like a rotor. It was custom made in Japan, and then shipped over. But it's kind of heavy weighted. I do like aluminum shifters, but this was a gift, so I'm not gonna not run it. Any issues I have with it, I just have to live with because it's a really cool shifter. So here's a stock shifter, M12 by 1. Is it M12? I think it is M12 by 1.5 or 1.25. They're actually very similar threads to lug, like lug nuts or lug studs. And then there's this other boot under here, which is rubber. That basically eliminates the noise you get from transmission and road noise. This actually is what seals your cabin off from the inside of your trans tunnel, which is a noisy location. When people do like janky manual conversions, sometimes they just cut it open and throw a trans in here and leave it open, which is fine. I mean, I'm not going to hate on it because, you know, I've done the same thing on many stuff. But, you know, you get a ton of road noise. This blocks out all that road noise, and there should be some sound deadening on the inside. We got 4 M10s, it looks like, on studs. You guys probably won't have this, and you guys will probably have to remove, like, this. So this is from, like, the winter package or whatever. GPS menu and stuff that was there, and seat heaters, which you can disconnect. Mine are just not connected to begin with because they don't work. And then you won't have this. This is my Hellcat fuel pump relay. I kind of have in here, but it works. So let's get these off. So on this stud, I'm pretty sure this is stock. It's a little just wire clip. You can try jamming screwdrivers or hose picks in there and get it off, or you can just pull on it. They don't thread on. They got like locks on. Ew. This is a great time to vacuum your car out if you love it. I don't love mine. I'm joking, sweetie. But yeah, vacuum out your trans tunnel. That's a great thing to do. But here we go, long socket. I like to spin the rest of it off with my fingers because that way it doesn't get stuck inside the socket. Even though these do have like a little washer flange thing on them. And you're not really gonna lose your nuts unless you drop it down with e-brake. Even then, it's pretty easy to recover. Also, a great time to retension your e-brake for drifting activities, or just in general if it's gotten loose. Again, these cars aren't the old crusty 90s hella used vehicles, so you know, rarely are they super loose to the point mine starts to engage within a few degrees. Anyway, that's right there. I'll show you guys how to do that too. This boot should now, in theory, pop up, and then it's zip tied or cinched onto the shifter right here, so you're not going to be able to take it off unless you do just clip that and take it off. I'm going to try to do this without taking it off, just pulling the boot inside out basically. Like, well, I'll show you guys. Pull it up to the point where it kind of goes inside out. You got to pull it up straight, unlike I just did, because it's on studs, not nuts. Anyway, so that should go inside out like that, and then we should be able to pull out the rest. Let me show you guys. So there was like a second boot on here. It's not glued on or anything. Those nuts down there are not the ones you're shooting for. The ones you want are right here, and it's in a triangle. 1, 2, 3 over there. So yeah, let's pull those out. I'm gonna get a wrench to do it because an impact would fit, but I have to kind of stretch the boot beyond where it can be stretched. So let me go get a wrench. Went to the bench and the wrench was on the floor the whole time because I was taking my ECU on and off. Currently having issues with that, which is a whole nother fiasco. Basically, it wasn't charging the alternator, and my tuner and I and another tuner and a tech support from Haltech and Aptronic think that I've actually fried it, or the first time my alternator failed, fried the ECU. So let's pull these bolts out and forget about that whole mess. So this should be soaked in trans fluid, and once you get those bolts out, these 3, you should have no issue popping the shifter out. Pull it out, and that is our plastic shifter boot. So you can see the differences. This one's on here really well. I've actually struggled to take this off for a little bit. I'm sure it'll just pop off, but that's your plastic. I don't think it's nylon. I do think it is like a plastic. And this is the stainless steel one. So obviously you don't have a taper, and it's not locked on, but it's bolted in, so it's not going to fall off in the transmission. And the bottom is tapered, so it doesn't go any further basically. So yeah, you can see basic differences. So I got the old one off. It was way harder than I expected. The best, the way I finally did it, was basically get your vice, not vice grips, channel locks, and grab basically one end of it, like the white collar, and then the other is the top. Kind of grab it like that and just pull back, and then it popped right off. So yeah, kind of sandwich it like that and then pull it off. Moment of truth, does it fit? Oh, it fits beautifully, with no play left to right, or up and, I mean, obviously not up and down. Wow, feels fucking great. There was I scratched it a little bit, but I filed it down, and so it's just a bit of a mar, but let's see if this gets it done. So first thing you're gonna do is just drop this down in there, and it's a bushing. So a lot of these are brass, or they're sold brass. That's good. And the benefit of brass is that it'll wear down before it wears this down. So for maybe a daily driver application where you plan on putting 50,000 miles on this shifter, maybe it's better to get a brass one instead of stainless steel. This one, I'll probably put 10,000 miles on this car if I drive it for the rest of my life, considering I take it to the track, maybe once a month at most. So this will be just fine. But again, stainless steel one, I mean, you'll be like, oh man, 50,000 miles later, I got a little slack. Man, I better replace that bushing once again. And then again, even that's being super picky, it'll probably shift perfectly fine, but you'll find you have a little bit of slop in your shifter again. And then if you open it with stainless steel one, you'll be like, oh shit, it's worn. Oh my God, the shifter is worn too. And then you could replace the bushing and still have a little itty bitty bit of play. So you kind of want to orient this the same way it came in. So the two bolts are in front. Move it like that. I actually think I twisted this. The RX8 shifter, I'm not sure about the S15. It's actually cocked a little bit to the left, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, but the driver's seat, it's cocked towards the driver, so it shifts easier for them. Anyway, right-hand drive car obviously be the other side, other way around. Let me put this in. So I popped the shifter in, not too hard. There's two alignment bolts, or alignment slots. I can already feel shifter is weird, bad. So I gotta kind of push it down. I'll figure out why the hell that is, but really weird. Maybe I have it flipped. It goes into what I think is third and fourth, but will not go over left to right. So we got the, see what it's hitting. So this thing that it should be hitting, sorry about this mess, what it should be hitting is the reverse lockout. You can see that is what actually determines it. When we pop down below it, we should be able to get over into reverse. So we should be able to go up into fifth and sixth. Seems like we're locked out at fifth and sixth. And that could be why I have this line. I need to slide it over towards the passenger side, outside the behind him, and that will allow this stop to be where we get to. So this is also how you adjust your reverse. While you're driving it, it's not going to move. But if you find out you're able to get reverse, over, that's how you reverse lockout works. Not sure how S15, not sure how to get it. So I ran into an issue, and so this is a few days after the original part was filmed. Let me clean this. There we go. It wasn't working. The shifter was terrible. It didn't work, and I was like, oh man, because I'd seen one other YouTube video where a guy documented it. It was not the Atkins rotary stainless steel one. It was a brass one, and I was like, yikes, I hope that didn't happen. I just assumed he screwed it up. He didn't screw it up. Now, here's my thinking. I'm gonna tell Atkins this as well. The shifter bushing is longer than the OEM one, right? It's about 7/8 of an inch long, and it bottoms out on the shifter. The thing is, the shifter is not at the bottom normally, right? So an RX8 one, you push it down to get into reverse lockout. So you get here, it hits, and then you go down, and then you can get over. So it's not bottomed out on the bottom. So the bushing has space to go up and down on the shifter, literally on the tip of the shifter, going up and down about, well, whatever height that is, that moves up and down. Anyway, my thinking is that it's not seated at the bottom and it actually starts to ride up on the shifter. I have no idea why naturally it decides to ride up, because you'd think it's moving on the bottom. And it weighs like a few grams because it's stainless steel. I figured it'd sit at the bottom. It does not. When I'd pull it off occasionally to look at it, like, why is this happening? It would be up about 1/4 of an inch. So what's happening is the shifter bushing is riding up and acting as a lockout boot on the shifter, so the shifter can't get into gears. Now we're good. Now we've got proper throw. Here's what I did. It's a little bit dirty. I was thinking you could either put a scratch or like a peck, like a deformation in the shifter bushing. You'd want to do it at the top part, not where the part where it's engaged, the upper part of it. Or slightly deform the shifter linkage or the fork or whatever it is actually in there. That's what I did, because I have a spare transmission, and if I deform that part, I know for a fact it's not going to interfere with the bushing, and that way the shifter bushing doesn't just fall in there. You kind of I had to give it light taps with a hammer in. You don't want to do big hits on that, because that's your shift fork. That's actually pretty sensitive stuff. It's not made to have hammering, slamming down on it. So don't beat the crap out of it. And just lightly tap it in, just so it would come up. And then that way, when you put your pinky in there, you can't pull it up. Like, it doesn't come up easily. You'd have to get a hose pick or something. And I'm sure with some force, it'd come up. But the idea is that it's kind of stuck down there. Now, 2 things. It probably doesn't ride up on everyone's transmission just because of wear characteristics of how it's worn, and it didn't ride up, kind of. I'm gonna call it riding up, because that's what it is. It just kind of comes up for some reason. Second of all, if your transmission's hot and the transmission fluid's all like super liquidy and lubricant-y, it probably won't stay up. Even if it does ride up for a second, it's probably gonna fall back down, because the lubricant is a better lubricant when it's hot. So when the transmission is up to temp, and that's probably wouldn't stay up, and obviously it's completely dry now, and now it's shifting great because I'm forcing that bushing to stay down. So if anyone's having an issue, and also another thing I forgot to mention, it's probably the same thing with the short shifters. R-Magic bushing doesn't work with the R-Magic short shifter. R-Magic bushing doesn't work with the axial flow short shifter. I'm assuming it's probably the same problem. Just because the short shifter is shorter, it rides up the bushing, and because of the RX8 characteristic of having to push down. So yeah, and now we have almost an immeasurable amount of shifter slop here. See, it moves like a tad before we're engaging the spring, and much more positive of an engagement. The throw looks huge from here, but honestly I like it. It's an explicit shift. It's like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Like, it just like, it's more explicit. Short shifters is like, first, there's something up there. So I'm very happy with this. It was pretty simple. I was on the phone. I'm gonna let them know, just so they know, so they can help customers maybe. Yeah, simple enough. So that is your RX8 short shifter. And if you got like a stock interior and stuff, do everything backwards, use your brain. I shouldn't have to tell you how to put trim back. Simple as that. Whether it's worth the $30, up to you. I mean, it doesn't make a huge improvement unless your stock bushing is completely shot, but it's not. So bye.